And so the first person is Chimére Smith, and she is a patient advocate, a Black long haul patient advocate, and a consultant for urban communities. She's also a middle school teacher and a member of the Long Haul Alliance and a board member of the body Politic.
Hello, I'm Chimére Smith from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a former middle school teacher, and I've been stricken with long COVID for 16 months. Thank you to the NIH and Dr. Nath for considering me as a speaker during this very important discussion. Speaking before you today is challenging as I am experiencing my own health challenges. And for me, ironically, when this happens, there's a decline in my mental and neurological health. Please bear with me. Today, I'll be speaking about the implications and the burden of a Black woman's broken brain. The first 5 years, I asked my mama, a single woman raising me in the projects of Southeast DC during the height of the crack cocaine era, the definition of words in a book, she lovingly told me. By the sixth time, however, she replied with frustration while washing dishes, "Look it up, girl." At 5, I learned that there was a mandate in her words to not just read the words, but to understand why they were placed in sentences to tell stories in the first place, to understand what words meant, to correlate their value with the writer's message. She had taken me as far as she could by reading to me almost every single night before bed. The rest she left up to me. Her admonishment fueled my obsession and hunger for words. I became an avid reader. I read books like Kids Eat Lollipops. I leaned into those books while hiding in closets, under beds, and outside on stoops, not realizing then that I had constructed a clever method of escapism. And those books saved me from the dangerous streets of DC, from the troubles of gang violence, teen pregnancy, and death, from the loneliness, shame, and fear of not being good or pretty enough, and even from the cruel tone of an overworked, tired mama whose stern side eye could often cut me into two. I soaked up stories engulfing myself in international travel, romance, espionage, schizophrenia, and headache and heartache without ever leaving my home. I became engrossed in the Washington Post Metro section, mostly reading about friends who had been killed or who had been accused of doing the killing. My brain became a sponge that soaked up novels and slave narratives focusing on the primitive journey of the Middle Passage. I knew my freedom from poverty, homelessness, and hunger was in knowing the story, but also balancing it with the politics of reading comprehension and grammatical excellence. Black girls don't get to peruse shelves of superheroes they wish to emulate. So I became a bona fide smartass, a know-it-all. I created what I didn't see. I crafted a unique protectiveness of myself by knowing words other people didn't know. Cloaked with an extensive vocabulary and photographic memory, I shielded myself from being bullied, dismissed, and ashamed. If it's to know, I know it. My brain is a rapid fire of waves of knowing, believing, and healing words. Other kids danced, but I ate words. Other kids hung on corners. I ate words. Other girls acted too fast and too grown. I ate words. Knowing and becoming words made it possible for my memory to soar. My superpowers included winning the 5th grade spelling bee, aiding friends with English assignments all through high school, crushing Socratic discussions on Toni Morrison's Beloved, being the cherished niece who could recall any phone number, address, or information my great aunts needed when their health failed, reciting my own poetry on the generous yet overtly critical stages of Southern HBCUs, impressing my film critic professor at Morgan State on my dissection of Spike Lee's earlier works, writing for collegiate newspapers as the editor and the contributor, writing my own college essays, songs, research papers, and oratory speeches with little or no editing assistance. And don't test me on my celebrity gossip because I know it all. No, this isn't a resume. This is a salute to what my brain could do. I was a word and informational powerhouse. I was an underrated, underserved Black woman and girl with ghetto impoverished roots, so I had to be. Anything less, and I risked being thrown and stashed in a pile of brilliant Black women with absorbent, mesmerizing minds who got no shine and no recognition, who are usually underpaid with their ideas stolen by major corporations run by less brilliant people with more money. Yes, I talked too much then, but I knew lots of things and told dazzling stories. My brain and my words attracted people. All my life, I had been called nerdy, intelligent, and too damn smart. Don't mess with a Black woman with a powerful brain. My brain was amazing, functional, analytical, albeit annoyingly so, and beautiful until March 22nd, 2020. My brain gradually became a burden. COVID ate away these beautiful parts of my brain, leaving in its shadow a pool of mania and disorder. For me, the neurological effects of this virus occurred over 3 to 4 months, and that may be the most torturous, damning aspect of this entire ordeal. I would rather have experienced the swift destruction of my brain, because watching myself lose my superpowers month by month was a traumatic experience, and it still is. One that makes speaking to you today extremely difficult. Reliving my experiences immerses me in the same waters I've been striving to leave since last March. But I knew something was terribly wrong when I stopped reading books. The day after I first fell ill, I tried to read the ending of a book. My vision was so blurred, the words on the pages so distorted, that I decided to stop trying to read the same pages over and over again. In March, the left side of my face felt frozen, numb, and broken. I likened my pain to having my head smashed on concrete with Bengay used as a salve afterwards. Tingling would come like waves across the front of my head, squeezing my temples like rubber bands pressed across my skull. If you've ever had an uncle or granddaddy jangle quarters in their pockets to give to you, my head felt like those coins jangling from night till day. In April, dizziness caused me to faint on my bathroom floor. I awoke many times from sleep, believing I was dead, with no consciousness of who I was or where I was. I relied on my phone to remind me of time, people, and dates. And still, I could not connect the dots. I lost words. They would not come to me. My extensive vocabulary became a distant memory. My memory? What memory? I could not remember to turn off faucets, to brush my teeth, to arise from bed. I could not remember my mama's name or my favorite auntie's name. I lost a vision of my left eye on the same side as my frozen yet pained face. I stopped speaking, I stopped answering phones, and I stopped trying to communicate. I stopped eating and drinking. Swallowing felt like a day's worth of work. I was too weak to work. In May, I didn't sleep for hours. I paced around my laundry room floor, convinced I was being chased to my untimely death. I begged whomever to stop chasing me, to let me live. When I would try to lie down, I was faced with Black figures in my line of sight, sitting in corners of my room, sneering at me. I heard voices telling me to create a cocktail of all the pills doctors had prescribed to me since March to end my life. During those psychotic episodes, I heard these voices so clear that I once gathered pills together just to further construct my plan. It is only because I decided to tell my very best friend, Sequoia Thompson, my fears of this plan that I am here with you today. I was delirious, holding no remembrance of any form of reality. I knew nothing or anyone that was real to me. I stopped being able to cry or produce tears, although my heart was shattered at how much I had already lost. In June, my brain started to burn as hot as the weather we are currently experiencing in the DC and Baltimore area. My skull was set ablaze, causing my scalp to begin to become tender to the touch. The fire radiated from the back of my head to the middle of my spine. During breaks from the blaze, my head was icy and cool. It felt numb. My neck was stiff, crunching at every turn. My back ached. I developed an aversion to light on a level that vampires could empathize. In July, my burning brain sent me to a hospital where an attending physician swore that COVID did not cause any neurological implications. If only he could see me now. I stopped being able to add or subtract in my head. The ringing in my ears, weakness in my limbs, and full body tremors were all ignored by doctors. Asking me a question meant wading through awkward silences for answers. I asked people more than twice to repeat themselves or refrain their questions. I couldn't comprehend their words or the appropriate response to their ideas or thoughts. I didn't know my own. I had no idea or thoughts. I rustled through paperwork I no longer understood. I stopped being able to do the very thing that gave me wings. I stopped being able to teach. When a Black woman's brain is broken, the incapacity of her ability to think, explore, create, lead, challenge, and change destroys the ecosystem of success and worthiness, which is already threatened by the racism and sexism she constantly experiences because she's simply Black in America. And as a middle school teacher with a sharp photographic memory and penchant for well-written essays and routine writing to develop students' critical thinking, I was the people's champ. But now, since my brain is broken, I am nothing more than a burden. There's a different kind of weaponry that is derived when a Black woman's brain is broken, the kind that has turned itself on me. The tragedy of a Black woman's brain is far greater and the tragedy of a Black woman's broken brain is far greater and prolific than I can ever present to you in words. This broken brain has created social, emotional, and financial barriers that prevent me from caring and providing for my family. I once envisioned myself helping my mama retire. Now I can't help her with too much of anything. It disrupted the journey of a successful, promising career that would see me striving for principalship or curriculum writing in Baltimore City public schools by 2026. In 2019, I was the only middle school English teacher in Baltimore to achieve an increase in 8th grade standardized testing scores. I was on the right track. Now my classroom and my job have been replaced. It undermined the progress I made to never be homeless, broke, or undervalued again. Before I became ill, I had nearly $10,000 in savings with plans to earn more teaching summer school. My broken brain also robbed Black middle school students in Baltimore, those who relied on me to be their family, their friend, their basketball coach, their mentor, their teacher, of the presence of a Black woman who didn't shun or belittle them, but who loved and cherished them. Studying education and English as a fellow at Stanford University, I learned what I always knew. Black students excel more and behave better when they are taught by a Black teacher. The closest I've gotten to my classroom in the last 16 months is by being my students' virtual commencement speaker as they were promoted to the 9th grade. I am now a burden, now depending on government assistance to decide if I'm unwell enough to receive the same money I poured into it as a single Black working woman. I am now a burden, unable to gather words as ingredients to great sentences. I'm a burden, unemployed, feeling helpless and lost. My mental health is under attack, flanked by bilateral occipital neuralgia, migraines, memory loss, cognitive impairment, and so much more that I can't recall now. COVID corrupted my ability to think, reason, and rationalize for myself. It showered me with paranoia and PTSD, becoming overly prepared, wordy, and confused during doctor's visits. I am now irritable and impatient and rendered incapable of educating anyone. When a Black woman's brain is broken, the infrastructure of this country's workforce, style, and culture is under siege. And when those of us empowered to create research protocols, mental health resources, financial assistance, and neurological studies fail to willfully investigate the brokenness of a Black woman's brain at the hands of COVID, we'd better be prepared to atone for much more than her absence in every facet of society. Now, the question I leave with you is, who's going to help me carry this burden of my broken brain? Thank you.